Someone once told me I was too sensitive. They meant it as a diagnosis, an explanation for why I cried at commercials, why crowded rooms left me exhausted for days, why certain songs could stop me completely, mid-step, mid-thought, mid-breath, like a hand pressed against my chest. They said it like it was something to fix. But what if, and I want you to sit with this for just a moment, what if you were never the problem? What if the word too was never yours to carry? Today, we are going to do something that most content about sensitivity never actually does. We are going to go deep into the biology, the evolution, and the neuroscience of what it actually means to be a highly sensitive person. Not the surface level, you feel things deeply version, the real version, the version with evidence, because you deserve more than validation, you deserve understanding. In 1996, a psychologist named Dr. Elaine Aron published research that would quietly change the lives of approximately 1 in 5 people, whether they knew about it or not. She identified what she called sensory processing sensitivity, a trait, not a disorder, present in roughly 15 to 20% of humans. And interestingly, it appears in over 100 other species as well. We'll come back to why that matters. Dr. Aron described this trait using an acronym, DOES. D, depth of processing. The HSP brain doesn't just receive information, it processes it more thoroughly, running it through more cognitive and emotional filters before arriving at a response. Where most people glance at a situation, an HSP reads the whole room. O, overstimulation. When you process everything more deeply, you also fill up faster. It's not weakness, it's the inevitable result of running a more complex internal operation. A high-performance engine runs hotter. E, emotional reactivity and empathy. HSPs have heightened responses in the parts of the brain associated with emotion processing and social cognition. They feel their own emotions more intensely, and they register the emotional states of others with extraordinary accuracy. S, sensitivity to subtleties. S, Ps notice what others miss, the slight tension in someone's voice, the shift in a room's energy before anything is said out loud, the detail in a painting that makes it transcendent rather than merely competent. This is not a list of weaknesses with different names. This is a coherent neurological profile, ancient, functional, and arguably essential. So what is actually happening inside the brain of a highly sensitive person? Neuroimaging studies, including a landmark paper by Bianca Acevedo and her colleagues at UC Santa Barbara, have shown that HSPs display significantly greater activation in areas of the brain associated with awareness, empathy, and integration of sensory information. Specifically, when shown photographs of strangers expressing happiness or sadness, HSPs showed measurably stronger activation in the insula, the part of the brain that processes your own bodily states, and in mirror neuron systems that underpin empathy. In plain language, when an HSP looks at a stranger in pain, they don't just intellectually register that pain, they feel a version of it, neurologically, in their own body. Now add to this the role of serotonin and dopamine. Research published in the journal Brain and Behavior suggests that HSPs show differences in serotonin transporter gene expression, affecting how readily the brain can modulate intense emotional experiences. A related line of research links high sensitivity to the dopamine system, meaning HSPs may experience both rewards and setbacks more vividly than the average person. Higher highs, lower lows, more color in both directions. And critically, the amygdala, your brain's threat detection center, is more easily activated in HSPs. But here's what most people miss. The amygdala doesn't only process danger, it processes anything emotionally significant. Beauty, music, meaning, the right paragraph in the right book on the right night. Your amygdala isn't just a smoke alarm. It's an instrument of extraordinary precision, calibrated to catch what matters. Now I want you to consider something. If high sensitivity were truly a disadvantage, If it were simply a flaw in the human operating system, natural selection would have eliminated it long ago. Traits that consistently harm survival don't persist across millennia. And yet here we are. The evolutionary biologist David Sloan Wilson has proposed a compelling model called the hawk-dove strategy. In nearly every social species studied, there tends to be a subset of individuals who are more cautious, more observant, more attuned to environmental changes and social dynamics. These individuals, the sensitive minority, serve a critical function. They are the early warning system, the risk assessors, the ones who detect the subtle signs of danger before the danger arrives. The rest of the group, the bolder, less sensitive majority, can afford to be less vigilant precisely because the sensitive individuals are already paying attention. Think about what this means. In the architecture of human survival, you were never the weak link. You were the sensor array. And this extends beyond threat detection. HSPs tend to be disproportionately represented in fields that require deep perception: art, music, therapy, research, writing, philosophy, medicine. Not because they are gentle souls drawn to quiet rooms, but because their brains are built to detect nuance, make unexpected connections, and process the world at a resolution that most people simply cannot access. Leonardo da Vinci reportedly wept at the sight of birds in cages. Fyodor Dostoevsky was known to become physically ill from emotional distress. Virginia Woolf described her inner life in terms that modern neuroscientists would recognize as textbook high sensitivity. These were not broken people. These were people whose sensitivity was their instrument, and who used it to show the rest of humanity something it could not see on its own. But here's the part that no amount of neuroscience can fully resolve. Knowing you are wired differently doesn't automatically make the world easier to live in. Most social environments, schools, open-plan offices, loud gatherings, relentless digital notifications, are designed by and for the non-HSP majority. They reward fast processing, high stimulation tolerance, and a certain emotional impermeability that HSPs simply do not have and were never meant to have. The result is chronic overstimulation. Not because you are weak, but because you are running complex software in environments designed for much simpler systems. And when the overstimulation becomes the daily norm, the secondary effects begin. Anxiety, because your threat detection system is perpetually triggered. Exhaustion, not from laziness, from the sheer metabolic cost of processing everything at depth. Shame, the most insidious one, because somewhere along the way you internalize the message that your experience of the world was disproportionate, excessive, embarrassing. That shame is not a personal failing. It is the accumulated scar tissue of a lifetime of being told to turn down a volume you were never controlling. The recalibration is not about making yourself less sensitive. It is about building a life that your nervous system can actually inhabit. That means designing your environment with intention, understanding your stimulation threshold not as a limitation, but as a specification, protecting your recovery time the way a musician protects their hearing or an athlete protects their joints, because it is the instrument itself. It means choosing relationships that can hold your depth, not just accommodate it. Work environments that value precision and thoughtfulness over reactivity and noise. Daily rituals that return you to yourself after the world has asked too much. There is a concept in Japanese aesthetics called mono no aware, the bittersweet awareness of impermanence, the ability to feel the full weight of a beautiful, fleeting thing, the cherry blossoms falling, the last page of a book you loved, a conversation that ended too soon. Most people have a passing relationship with this feeling. It visits them occasionally, on holidays or at funerals. HSPs live there, and yes, it is painful. The depth at which you experience loss and beauty and meaning is not comfortable, but it is also the source of everything that makes your presence matter to the people who are lucky enough to know you. the friend who actually listens, the partner who actually sees, the artist or writer or scientist or teacher who actually cares. The world did not need you to be less. It needed you to understand what you are. You are not too much. You are exactly the right amount for a world that doesn't yet know how much it needs you. If something in this video resonated, a study, an idea, a word that finally fit, I'd genuinely love to know what it was. Leave it in the comments, not because I need the engagement, but because I think there's something powerful about HSPs finding each other in the same room, even a digital one. Next time, we go into the polymath's curse, why you start everything and finish almost nothing, and what that pattern is actually trying to tell you. Until then, go gently.